The Journey Within, a story of 5 Buddhist teachings to stop overthinking and find inner peace. Introduction, The Restless Mind. There once lived a young man named Ariv in a bustling Indian city. From the outside, Ariv had everything, a stable job, loving parents, and a promising future. Yet every night, his mind would race with thoughts: what if I fail? What if I disappoint my family? What if I'm not good enough? He would lie awake, caught in a storm of what-ifs and maybes. The fear of tomorrow stole the peace of his today. He tried everything: therapy, journaling, even sleeping pills. But nothing truly brought him peace. One day, completely exhausted, Ariv took a break from his life and traveled to a quiet Buddhist monastery nestled in the Himalayas. He didn't know what he was searching for, only that he wanted silence from the storm in his head. At the monastery, he met an elderly monk named Venerable Tenzin. The monk welcomed him with warmth and said, "You are not the first who came here chasing silence. But silence does not come from the world outside. It comes from within, when you stop overthinking and start observing." From that moment began Ariv's journey through 5 teachings of the Buddha, each one slowly peeling away the layers of confusion and bringing him closer to peace. Introduction, The Restless Mind. There once lived a young man named Ariv in a bustling Indian city. From the outside, Ariv had everything: a stable job, loving parents, and a promising future. Yet every night, his mind would race with thoughts: what if I fail? What if I disappoint my family? What if I'm not good enough? He would lie awake, caught in a storm of what-ifs and maybes. The fear of tomorrow stole the peace of his today. He tried everything: therapy, journaling, even sleeping pills. But nothing truly brought him peace. One day, completely exhausted, Ariv took a break from his life and traveled to a quiet Buddhist monastery nestled in the Himalayas. He didn't know what he was searching for, only that he wanted silence from the storm in his head. At the monastery, he met an elderly monk named Venerable Tenzin. The monk welcomed him with warmth and said, "You are not the first who came here chasing silence. But silence does not come from the world outside. It comes from within, when you stop overthinking and start observing." From that moment began Ariv's journey through 5 teachings of the Buddha, each one slowly peeling away the layers of confusion and bringing him closer to peace. Chapter 1, The Dance of Change, Learning Impermanence, Anicca. Ariv sat with Venerable Tenzin under a large Bodhi tree, where leaves rustled like whispers of ancient wisdom. "Why can't I stop thinking?" Ariv asked. "My mind never rests." Tenzin smiled. "Because you believe your thoughts are permanent. But nothing is." Then, Tenzin told Ariv a story. Long ago, a prince named Viraj feared losing his crown. He clung tightly to every moment of success. But one day, his kingdom was invaded, and he lost everything. Viraj wandered the forests, broken and lost, until he met a wandering monk. The monk said, "What rises must fall, and what falls can rise again. Joy is fleeting. So is sorrow. The only constant is change." Viraj wept, not in pain, but in relief. For the first time, he saw that his suffering was born from holding on to what must pass. Ariv thought about his sleepless nights, worrying about his job, his future, his failures. All things that hadn't even happened yet. "Everything changes, doesn't it?" he whispered. Tenzin nodded. "Yes. And once you accept impermanence, you'll stop clinging to every thought as if it's your forever." Lightbulb real-life example. Ria, a corporate employee, was devastated when her startup shut down. For months, she spiraled in anxiety and hopelessness. But after reading about Anicca, she started focusing on what she could control today. She learned digital marketing, rebuilt her confidence, and now mentors others. Her peace returned when she stopped fearing change and started flowing with it. Leaf Fluttering in Wind Chapter 2, The Observer Within, Practicing Mindfulness, Vipassana. In the meditation hall, Arav struggled to sit still. His mind was a parade of unfinished conversations, worries, and regrets. "I can't stop thinking," he confessed. Venerable Tenzin chuckled, "Good. Now watch them." He handed Arav a cup of tea and said, "Don't drink. Just observe." Arav stared at the steam curling from the cup, the warmth on his palm, the scent of cardamom. "Now," Tenzin said, "you were mindful. You observed. Do the same with your thoughts." And he shared another tale. A traveler named Mira once roamed the world looking for peace. She entered a forest monastery and asked the monk to teach her how to quiet her mind. The monk told her to watch the river. "Do you see how the water flows without resistance? So should your thoughts. Observe them, let them pass. But do not jump in." Arav realized he had spent years jumping into every single thought, letting them consume him. But what if he just watched them flow, like clouds in the sky? Real-life example. A young college student named Arjun faced panic attacks before exams. After learning basic Vipassana techniques, observing breath, noticing thoughts without judgment, he began practicing for 10 minutes daily. Slowly, he regained control over his anxiety, not by fighting it, but by observing it. Blossom Chapter 3, Right Thought and Right View, Choosing a New Lens. As days passed, Arav began noticing how much negativity his mind produced. He feared failure, judged others, and often assumed the worst. Tenzin said, "Your thoughts are seeds. If you plant anger, you grow pain. If you plant love, you grow peace." He told another story. There was a merchant who feared losing all his wealth. He obsessed over betrayal, market crashes, theft. His thoughts became so toxic that he stopped trusting anyone. One day, a monk told him, "You do not suffer because of what happens. You suffer because of how you think about what happens." Right view is the ability to see the world with compassion, not fear. Arav realized he had been seeing the world through the lens of lack, not good enough, not ready, not safe. He decided to change the lens. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" he began to ask, "What if I succeed?" Lightbulb real-life example. Rohan, a young entrepreneur, constantly feared rejection. But when he began practicing right view, he trained himself to interpret failure as feedback. Every pitch that failed became a lesson. Within 2 years, his startup scaled up, but more importantly, his anxiety scaled down. Waterwave Chapter 4, You Are Not Your Thoughts, Understanding Anatta, No Self. One evening, Arav was journaling and wrote, "I am anxious. I am a failure." Tenzin saw the page and said, "No, you are not." He explained, "You say, 'I am anxious,' as if anxiety is your identity. But anxiety is just a cloud. You are the sky." He told the story of a grieving father. A man lost his only son and was drowning in sorrow. When he met the Buddha, he cried, "Why did this happen to me?" The Buddha replied, "You suffer because you think the pain is who you are. But the mind is like a house guest. Feelings come and go. The self behind them is silent, spacious, eternal." That night, Arav sat silently and said to himself, "This is not me. This is just a thought. I am the watcher." And for the first time, the thought didn't control him. Lightbulb real-life example. Megha, who battled depression for years, began working with the idea of anatta. Instead of saying, "I am depressed," she began saying, "There is depression in me right now." This subtle shift gave her space. She wasn't broken. She was the awareness behind the pain. Hibiscus Chapter 5, The Power of Now, Living in the Present Moment. Arav was now calmer. But one day, he panicked about returning to city life. What if the stress comes back? Tenzin smiled and handed him a broom. Sweep the floor. Focus only on this moment. For hours, Arav did nothing but sweep, feeling the straw against the ground, listening to the rhythm of motion. And then, he understood. Peace wasn't in the mountains. Peace was in this moment. Tenzin shared the last story. A boy who worried about exams, friends, and future was asked to simply water the temple garden. As he did, slowly, he began enjoying the sunlight, the soil, the fragrance of flowers. In the present moment, his mind was free. Arav wept. Not in sorrow, but in joy. The overthinking that had stolen years of his life no longer had power over him. He wasn't thinking about tomorrow. He was fully here. Now. Alive. Lightbulb real-life example. Neha, a trauma survivor, began practicing present moment awareness by doing mindful walks, cooking slowly, and embracing now. Her panic attacks reduced. Her self-love increased. Peace wasn't far away. It was just here. Final chapter, Silence in the Storm. Months later, Arav returned to the city. The world hadn't changed, deadlines, responsibilities, and chaos still roared. But Arav had changed. Now, when his mind raced, he paused and remembered. Everything changes. I can observe, not react. I choose what thoughts I plant. I am not my fear. This moment is enough. And just like that, overthinking lost its grip. Arav had found the peace he was chasing, not by escaping the world, but by transforming how he met it. Folded hands conclusion, from overthinking to inner peace. The teachings of the Buddha are not ancient rules trapped in time, they are living truths that breathe in the modern world. To everyone lost in their own thoughts. Accept that everything changes. Watch your thoughts like clouds. Plant positive seeds in your mind. Don't confuse thoughts with your identity. And most of all, come back to the present. The storm will pass. And when it does, you'll realize, you were the sky all along.